Could the age of the Great Pyramid of Giza be 237,000 years old? This plateau is still a mystery. Many of us probably read the version that in the sizes and proportions of the Giza pyramid, the Cheops pyramid, certain parameters of the earth and secret knowledge of ancient civilizations are encrypted. 2 or 3 centuries ago, including, for example, Isaac Newton and many scientists of the 19th and 20th centuries, still tried to decipher all these secrets. In particular, many tried to determine the length, etc., the sacred cubit, the pyramidal cubit, measures of the length of the architects and builders of the pyramid, which supposedly was also the key to many of its secrets. So on the internet you can find publications of modern popularizers which assert in particular that the number obtained from dividing the length of the base of the Cheops pyramid by the length of its pyramidal cubit is very close to the average duration of the modern tropical year. An interesting way of dating the age of the pyramid. The essence of this method is as follows. If the architects of the pyramid really encrypted in its proportions the duration of their year, then given the slowing down of Earth's rotation, the age of the pyramid can be calculated. For example, if the length of the year at the time of construction of the pyramid was 0.01 days less than in our time, then knowing the rate of deceleration of the Earth's rotation, 1.8 milliseconds per 100 years, you can calculate when this was. But don't rush to the calculations. There are pitfalls, which, by the way, were not taken into account in this theory. The Earth not only slows down its rotation, but also increases its rotation, increases its size. The Earth is growing. Over time, the radius of the globe's surface area and mass increase, and the larger the Earth becomes, the faster it grows. Empirically, according to various sources, an exponential law of the increase of the radius of the globe with time has been established. Currently, the Earth's growth rate is at its maximum, and the Earth's radius is increased by at least 2 centimeters every year. And this is according to V.F. Blinov, The Growing Earth from Planets to Stars. It's also possible that tens of hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Earth's radius increased faster than in our time, and it could change even faster during the years of planetary catastrophes, like about 10,800 years ago, years BC. That's around the Younger Dryas period when we had a comet impact. Now, riddles of the pyramidal elbow, Isaac Newton and Keshi Ra. But this means that the mysterious pyramidal elbow, quote unquote, during the construction of the pyramid, if it was 1/10,000,000th part of the Earth's radius, as many of its researchers believed, it was not from the current radius, but from the one that was many millennia or even tens of millennia during the construction of the pyramid. Some scientists understood this even in the 19th century. Thus, the well-known historian and educator James Bonwick, 1811 to 1906, wrote in 1877 in his book, Isaac Newton wrote a work in Latin entitled The Sacred Elbow of the Jews and the Elbows of Some Peoples, in which, according to the measurement of the greatest Egyptian pyramid made by Mr. John Greaves, the ancient elbow of Memphis is established, where in particular he noted that in the ancient Egypt, before the elbow length of 1/2 meter, apparently was preceded by another longer length, which could be about 6 to 3.5 centimeters, instead of 50 centimeters. Now, and then James Bonwick writes about the book of the American scientific educator John Taylor, quote, The Great Pyramid, Who Was It Built and For What Purpose? End quote. Published 1856. In particular, it states, Mr. Taylor confuses us with his assertion that the length of the pyramidal elbow before the flood was 63.25 centimeters, and that after this catastrophe, after the Great Flood that is, it began to be equal to 63.5 centimeters. And both the elbow, according to Mr. Taylor, were sent over Mr. Taylor suggests that the flood had on the world of such a devastating effect, although geologists could not find at least one tangible evidence that the flood at all took place, that the diameter of the Earth has become smaller by almost 59.55 kilometers in comparison with the antediluvian. Are there ancient Egyptian depictions of people with this mysterious pyramidal elbow? In addition to the chief priest of Heliopolis, the legendary Imhotep, another name is associated with the construction or with the repair of the pyramids under Cheops, perhaps less well known but no less great. Keshi-Ra, the chief of doctors, the priest of Horus, the chief architect of the pharaoh, the supreme chief of the Ten of the South. This is not a complete list of his regalia known from the studies of his personal tomb, which has been preserved. Keshi-Ra is considered by some the main designer of the Great Pyramids, or we add the chief engineer for repairing and restoration. Keshi-Ra knew the secrets of proportions, the golden sections according to which the pyramids were built. And the images on the panel boards of Keshi-Ra's represent a whole spectrum, a developed canon of golden sections, various measures that were used in the construction and restoration of the pyramids. These measures were associated not only with the golden sections, they also encrypted many of the knowledge of the priests of Upper and Lower Egypt. But what was the length of the pyramidal elbow during the construction of the pyramids? So a vicious circle. To calculate the length of the year of the construction time, encoded in the length of the pyramidal base, you need to know the length of the pyramidal cubit, but this dina itself may depend on when the pyramid was erected. So let's take the bull by the horns. And let's proceed from the fact that the pyramidal elbow is a measure length. I had to fit an integer number of times, at least one, most likely in the supporting base of the pyramid. And in addition, most likely its length did not differ much from that which was accepted by many Egyptologists since the 19th century, and still, in the book of James Bonwick, several more names were listed except for Taylor. In general, the measure of length cubit in that century had not yet been forgotten in Europe. For example, in the physics textbooks of 1831, see the Wikipedia article elbow, the lengths of the cubit are given in more than 10 cities of Western Europe, and most of these cubits has a length of 59 to 69 centimeters. So we're looking for a pyramidal elbow about 63 centimeters long, which fits an integer number of times into one of the four sides of the base of the pyramid. According to Wikipedia, article Pyramid of Cheops, their length is as follows. North, 230.253 meters. South, 230.454 meters. West, 230.357 meters. And east, 230.394 meters. Note here also that the length of the lateral rib, initially 230.33 meters according to calculations, according to Wikipedia article Pyramid of Cheops. It's logical to take the north side as a support one, and we can easily find that the 0.63083 meter long pyramidal elbow fits along the length of the northern base exactly 365 times. A good start to storm this puzzle. The next most important side of the pyramid is the eastern one, if only because the sun and Sirius rise there, announcing the flood of the Nile. Yes, so that's the east. Then the average length of a year during the construction of the pyramid equals 230.349 divided by 0.63083 equals to 365.2235943 days. What is the length of the tropical year in our century? In Wikipedia, the article Tropical Year, we can see the following data for 2000. Between two March equinoxes is 365.242374 days. Between two June solstices is 365.241626 days. Between two September equinoxes, 365.242018 days. Between two December solstices is 365.242740 days. So as you know, in ancient Egypt, the new year began in the summer with the flooding of the Nile. Therefore, we must take the number in the second line between the two June solstices, 365.241626 days. So this means that every 100 years, the duration of the tropical year increased by 0.0018, and this is all called calculation going. Well, it rounds out to about 237,000 years. Conclusions and discussion of the result. So the Cheops, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was erected 237,000 years ago. Note, however, that the accuracy of the proposed method depends very much on the accuracy of determining the initial lengths of the pyramid's bases, with an average base length of about 230.36 meters. An error of about half a centimeter changes the result of about 100,000 years. In most sources, according to the size of the pyramids, they are indicated with an accuracy of a centimeter. Wikipedia article says pyramid of Cheops up to a millimeter. So if we assume that the initial lengths are set with an accuracy of millimeter, then the error of our calculation would be about plus or minus 20,000 years. But rather we should focus on an error of half a centimeter. So with an accuracy of determining the initial base of lengths of half a centimeter, is more correct to say that the pyramid was erected within 137,000 to 337,000 years ago. And this is provided that the deceleration of the Earth's rotation throughout all these hundreds of thousands of years remains equal to about 1.8 milliseconds. That's per day. That's about 100 per year, per 100 years. But this is an interesting result. This period in the history of the Earth, 137,000 to 337,000 years ago, is the emergence of Cro-Magnons and mitochondrial Eve in South Africa, and then about 100,000 years ago, their exit through the territory of present-day Egypt to Eurasia. In general, there is no doubt that the Cro-Magnon reached the territory of present-day Egypt from South Africa no later than the upper limit of the time of the pyramid erection, which we determined. So if we take into account our assumption that Cro-Magnon were in fact the first Sumerians created by their masters, the Anunnaki, to help in their work mining in South Africa, if we also take this into account, then we can put forward a version about the purpose of creation of these pyramids, and that it was the Anunnaki who built them then. But what can the western and southern base of the pyramid show? And the writer says, suppose that the calculation similar to the one carried out in the article on the western base will show the time of arrival of aliens on Earth about 420,000 BC. And on the southern base, the calculation will show a certain boundary in the future, which the creators of the pyramid considered important for Earth, for humanity, and for their stay here. Throughout its existence, the pyramid has probably been overhauled and restored several times, and maybe more often, last time in the 3rd millennium BC during the reign of Pharaoh Cheops. And this is on Solask. Very interesting, isn't it? Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.